Welcome back to the platform. Raised on Real Estate. Greg Angello with you on an absolutely beautiful summer day in September. And yes, it is summer, folks. Let's not wipe it off the board. We know people are back in school, kids are back in school, but that doesn't mean that summer's over because the calendar doesn't say that. Not until probably another week and a half left. I think we're looking at maybe September 22nd is going to be bringing in our new season of fall. Speaking of new seasons, our real estate market is in a different season right now, and this is the reason for the podcast. We've got our host back, our co-host back, and our guest, Brock Zevan. Brock is going to talk to us about winning the listing appointment in this different market. And this is a great topic right now. It is right on everybody's lips right now. Everyone is talking about it. We want to thank all of those of you who have been checking out our podcast on Raised on Real Estate and helping us grow. We are on every podcast platform out there, and we appreciate that very much. All right, let's bring him in. Well, we finally got our host back. I think he's been in hiding now for close to a few months. Did they finally let you out, Brock? I heard you got stranded out in a foreign country and you couldn't find your passport. Where have you been, man?
Yeah, I got through summer. Let me just tell you, it was a bear. Summer was a bear. 2 little kids, camps, vacations, balancing. I'm starting a new career with life coaching and business coaching. So hired a new coach. He's got me busy. Real estate, just school starting. So finally getting some root in my life.
So when do you have time to eat? I didn't hear anything about eating and all that. Or sleeping.
I have a protein shake. I have a protein shake, and I got my 6 hours in.
That's awesome. Well, welcome back to Raised on Real Estate, and we want to thank everybody for being back on the platform again. We've been doing some podcasts, and Brock and I have been working out on our schedules, and have you just heard, he's extremely busy right now, but we're going to talk briefly just a little bit about what's going on with him in his life, because we've got the Mindset Motivation calls going on, and it's growing on Facebook Live. We're going to talk a little bit about that first, and then we're going to talk about our subject matter today, which is winning your listing at the listing appointment in this different real estate market. All those things you just described. Tell us what is the most exciting thing for you that's happening in your life right now with this real estate? Is it the coaching? Is it the mentoring? Is it learning new things? How could you put that together?
I believe that it's the challenge of the opportunity right now because not the lack of inventory as much, but like the shift in the market scares people, puts fear in many people. And I think this is an opportunity for people to grow. I think it's an opportunity for people to separate themselves. So I enjoy the challenge. So I'm very, very excited about having that opportunity, especially going into the fourth quarter. And then the other thing would be my speaking, the opportunity. I'm really, really excited to go to Nashville. I love being around high producers. I love being around people who operate at a much higher level than me. So I'm going to Nashville to see Coach Michael Burt, spend the day with them. It's a short trip. But what I've noticed when you're around those type of people, it's short, it's impactful, it's intense, and it's exactly what I like. So I head out to Nashville tomorrow, and I come back on Friday. But I get to spend some quality time around top people in the country, and that keeps me fired up. That keeps me going, and that's my new journey of coaching and speaking at a much higher level. Blessed and fortunate to be speaking down in Florida beginning of October. I go down and speak to a bunch of icon EXP agents. I'm going to be down there speaking on the black belt of personalities. I believe that you need to know yourself before you can start to know other people and understand other people. So those are some of the key ingredients that I got going on recently and what's forecasted here in my future.
Now that school is back in session, your kids are back in now, and talk just a little bit about, like, you are going to schools talking to, I don't know, the high school kids? Are they junior high kids? Because you're starting that platform as well, aren't you?
So I started speaking to some of the challenge students, giving them hope. I spoke to a couple of correction facilities, speaking with the kids at the high school level. And then I've also spoke at recently a middle school and then the Lincoln County School District to all the teachers, basically sharing with them the personalities of all these different students, the personalities of themselves, and kind of went along those lines of that. A lot of people don't understand their own personality. I'm actually in the process of getting certified as a DISC personality specialist.
Wow.
And so I'm taking classes for that online to become specialized in that. I'm very, very passionate about understanding people's personalities. As you know, when you're making phone calls and you're talking to people, you have a short period of time to build a relationship, and only one person's going to change on that phone call. And it's typically us as agents. The person on the other line is not going to change their personality. We have to change our personality to build that relationship with them. And so I've really started to study that. So inside the schools, I've started to help teachers understand their personality so that way they can help students, because every single child, I feel that it's safe to say they all have a different personality.
Hmm.
And so we need to be able to adapt to help these kids because we don't know where they're coming from at home. We don't know what challenges they have at home. And so we only have a short period of time per day with these students. And so I've been going into these schools and helping teachers and share with them and educate them the personalities and different strategies and tactics they can use in the classroom to help reduce maybe some of the challenges that they face.
Well, I see Isaac he has a different personality every hour.
Right,
And
right.
as far as a disc is concerned, it's just something he wants to pick up and throw, usually at me.
Right.
So it's just
Yeah.
amazing to see his personality change now that school has started. Not to say he's more focused, but I think that one of the things that's interesting is that part of that freedom that he had over the summer, and maybe your maybe your kids were that way too, that the freedom that they had knowing that they didn't have to get up early, they didn't have to have anything else on their mind other than what kind of fun and excitement they're going to do. And so maybe even in our own lives, we even talked about that on Labor Day. Labor Day was a holiday, but yet we decided to engage in work. But yet I felt a little bit more freedom, so to speak, than I did on
Mhm.
Tuesday. And I wonder why that is.
Well, it's funny you even said that. I had a terrible Monday. I had a very, very challenging Monday. I was just talking to Wendy about it. We went on a date last night, and I was telling her, I said, Billy, I really struggled yesterday or Monday. She goes, really? You did? I said, I was completely out of routine. I'm such a routine oriented type of person that I didn't get up at the same time. I didn't work out the same time. I kind of like, we did a breakfast together. I made pancakes. So when I'm like it's fine on a Sunday or Saturday because my brain tells me it's a weekend. So it's a little bit different. But you go into a work week and you shift it up. I mean, you see it all the time, especially in kids when there's like a vacation, like Thanksgiving vacation. We always could tell like that Tuesday or the day before Christmas vacation, the kids couldn't concentrate. They're already excited. They're already in the vacation. Your brain already goes into vacation mode. And I think as an adults, we have our same modes as well. And I think most people don't have structure in their life. As adults, we feel like we don't need it, but really we do. And for those that are highly structured, like myself and my routine, when I'm out of it, I'm a wreck, man. I'm terrible with it because I'm just so adamant about my routine. But that's how I am, and that's what's helped me. I was just teaching a team down in Florida this morning. We were talking about efficiency of time, and a lot of people lack that. They don't know how to fix that. And efficiency of time is structure is the
Yeah.
biggest way to set that. So.
Awesome. Speaking of time in this market, we've seen a lot of changes as time has gone by in the last few months. So we're going to talk about that now. We're going to talk about what it looks like now if you're at a listing appointment compared to where you were a couple of months ago, 3 months ago. Here's one thing I wanted to point out because I was listening when I was taking to Isaac to school this morning. I was listening to a cable business news on Sirius XM, and they were talking about that Redfin was describing about the housing market. And they said that home prices are down 6% from the record high they reacted in June. Bidding wars are at their lowest level in more than 2 years, and the typical home is finally selling for under its asking price. And the forecast that they were describing about the future of the housing market right now, at least maybe in the next 6 to 9 months, doesn't look too good. So we want to talk a little bit about the challenges that agents have with their listings and going to the listing appointment, because we already know months ago going in there It was pretty much like I said on the podcast, before the ink is dry on the listing contract, people were already giving you offers. I mean, you'd be walking out of the home and you probably got texts or emails saying, got an offer for you. But we don't see that now. Let's talk a little bit about that. So let's look at what you are seeing at your listing appointments and what do you feel is best right now in this market?
So a lot of things there. So I'm going to try to unpack this in the order that you presented it in. First and foremost, you have to understand the number of agents out there. If you think about it, the agents who've come into the market the last 2 years to 3 years have never seen a shift like this before because we've had COVID. So majority of these agents that are out there performing don't even know how to handle this because they've never dealt with this. So they're going to be already at a handcuff in a position that they're going to be even more challenged because your experienced agents like yourself and myself, I mean, you've been through a shift, haven't you, before?
Yeah, quite a
Right?
few. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so we're like immune to it. We have a higher tolerance than majority of the agents that are out there right now. If we look at the last 2 to 3 years, there's a lot of real estate agents who got their license because when the market is amazing and phenomenal, they flood in. Okay. When you're in a heavy foreclosure and things aren't going very well, there's not a lot of people in the real estate school. They're like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here. So we have a lot of agents that are going to be coming in with no education, of no knowledge of how to handle a shift. And so to me, this is an important topic for them to be able to understand, like, it's different. You can't just, like you said, sign a listing agreement. I mean, one of the indicators, I did a video the other day about 5 indicating factors that the shift is upon us on the listing side. And one of them was 99% of listings 6 months ago were selling. I mean, just as much as I do, how many expireds were around 6 months ago? It was like 1, 2, barely any,
Mm-hmm.
0, 0, 1, like barely any, because 99% of the homes are being sold. Now they just came out 75% of the homes are being sold. So that's a huge 25% difference of what we're seeing, and why indicating factor that I had was expireds are increasing. So we're going to have to be able to shift to that. And a lot of it is based off of conversations and understanding with people of, like, what took place, what happened. But the biggest thing that agents need to do now is they need to educate sellers that the market is shifting and they're not getting the prices that they want. That's the biggest thing, is a lot of agents are going in still with that, oh, I could sell your home very quickly. And then the home doesn't sell. And one of the other indicating factors that I talked about was the days on the market are increasing. So when you have days on the market increasing, you have 25% less homes. You have less multiple offers, because that report that you said is completely accurate. There are less multiple offers going on there. So when you say, well, what's going on with the market? To be honest with you, it's correcting itself. And it's giving the buyers an opportunity. There's no less money out there, guys. There's still the same amount of money. It's just in different people's hands right now. And there's different opportunities. So the sellers who are salivating because the prices were so high, now the buyers have an opportunity. So to go into listings now, you have to share that strategy with them, saying, hey, we're going to have some days on the market. We're going to have to negotiate. So real estate agents, you better be practicing your negotiating skills, because they're going to be tested. Before, all we had to do as a seller agent was say, no, not high enough, not high, no more due diligence. Nope. How's that, seller? Is that good enough? Yep, we'll take that. Yep, sign that and send it over. I mean, how is that for negotiating? I mean, I don't know about you, but I would have loved, I mean, that was fun for a little bit. I mean, it actually was more annoying because you had to look at 20 offers.
Well, I totally agree with you. And then the other issue is it was really difficult to try to price the home because you had really no idea how high it would go based on how many offers you had. Because you could set the price at any number, and at least in our MLS that we have here in the Charlotte area, 6 to 12% of the sale prices, that percentage was higher than the list price. So the average is probably about 8%, 8.5% over list price. And some people are like, man, I can't believe that home sold for that number. So as a strategy now, so you're talking about agents need to be educated and have a different strategy. But how do you convince the seller who's going to say, well, I want my homes, I want that. I want the multiple offers. Why am I not going to get that now? And because you have to talk about pricing.
Mhm.
you know you have to talk about pricing in this market, because if we already are seeing more days on market, if it's not priced properly, then it's going to even sit longer. And then you're going to have a very disgruntled seller on your hands. So how do you handle that?
So, a couple things. One is you have to be 100% transparent. I have a saying that I would suggest that people write it down. I rather disappoint you now than disappoint you later. Okay. When that comes into play, it also financially will help you real estate agents. Okay. Most real estate agents come from a scarcity mindset. Really, most of society comes from a scarcity mindset, not an abundance mindset. So, an abundance mindset, you have to set the stage like Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I just need you to understand that the market is not where it was 6 months ago. Okay. Have you talked to one of your neighbors that recently sold? And you start exploring into what they already know. Okay. So, what you have to do is they're going to tell you everything that they know, and then you have to basically unpack it, remove it all, and you have to build them back up to say that that's not happening anymore. And let me teach you and share with you that we're not getting multiple offers. The days in the market are increasing. We're seeing these challenges across the board. And I need you to understand here's my price improvement plan. So if I'm going to tell any agent what the number one question, okay, and I'm pretty sure they're all like, what is the number one question to ask? Here's the number one question you need to ask in your listing appointments moving forward. And that question is, at what price point, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, are you not willing to go below? You got to figure out what that bottom line number is. Because if you don't understand and their expectations are too extravagant, you will be next on the expired list. And you wasted a lot of time and you wasted a lot of money. The agents who actually educate them and set the expectations and share with them the price improvement plan and tell them what they need are going to be in a better position, and they'll actually sell the home than anything else, because if not, 25% of homes aren't being sold. I can't make up that number. Okay. That's the reality of it. So those things are going to be taking place. And you're 100% correct. Like that program said to you, of a 5% to 7%. Guys, it's going to happen in the fourth quarter this year. And they're also predicting from the CFOs with NAR, they are saying it's going to be another 5 to 7% in the first quarter of next year. So if you think that there's any beautiful, blissful sunrise coming out anytime soon, you got to be ready to educate these sellers to be able to tell them now's the time. That is my biggest impact. I mean, we just went on a listing appointment the other day with my mentee, and they weren't too sure when they were going to sell it. They wanted to wait a couple, like, it was like, hey, we want to fix this up and do this. We were thinking about a month or so. I said, no.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you want to know why? I said, because we're going to hear, I don't want to move during the holidays. I said, you got 6 weeks. I said, after that, we're going to be in a holiday cheer and people aren't going to want to move it. It's not meaning that people are not going to, but that's another objection you got to deal with. Like, let's get people moved in before the holidays.
Correct.
So that's something you got to think about too now, and you got to start having those conversations now.
So you identified a number of different statistics or numbers. What do you bring then? These numbers that you're rattling off, these statistics. So what are you going to bring to show? Are you going to show the actual evidence of what's happening in the market? Because I think agents are saying, well, I don't know what to say, but if I just say what I say, what should I bring with me to validate what this market looks like right now?
So as you know, we talked about the disc personality. It all depends on who I'm talking to. If they're very heavy analytical, okay, I will use a seller net sheet as part of my data, and I will just draw out their actual numbers of their house. And I will just say, hey, if we're doing your house for $330,000, I'd be like, listen, we're looking at roughly about $15,000 to $16,000 difference. If you're going to wait next year, you're going to be looking at an additional 15. So we're going to be at 30 to 35. And I write it right down in front of them. See, analytical people want to see just their house and just their data. They don't care about like anybody else. They don't care about all that other stuff. So they need to make sure that they understand like this is their house, these are their numbers, and this is actuality of what this looks like. So in that case, they're going to want to see that. So I just write it out over there. I'm not a big person that brings in a whole thick pieces of paper and all that stuff. Now, if they ask for it, so be it. But for the most part, I don't. I'm literally understanding their personality type because if they're a high driver, they really aren't. They're going to be like, "What's my bottom line? What am I looking at?" And so, as in the listings, you got to make sure that you understand that. But remind me, there's a key ingredient that separates me from many agents in my listing presentation. And when I get to the table, it's too late because that's when most agents are doing their work. And I do mine way ahead of time. And I feel that that's what separates me from a lot of real estate agents out there. But I want to make sure that I answered your question of what do I bring? I typically bring my listing packet, which is my listing presentation. I'm bringing all the documentation for this list, the mineral and gas, residential property disclosures, testimonials, our top 10, our utility information sheet, that sort of stuff.
Right, and the RPR market report.
Oh, and the residential property
Yes.
report.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But are you showing them other properties in their zip code or in their area that have been sitting now, so
Yeah.
they get that evidence, or do you feel that's maybe not crucial?
I do. Like I'll show them a simple, quick CMA. Like I don't really emphasize a lot of it. I mean, most people are intelligent enough now that they know homes aren't selling very fast. So I don't need to drive it home hard. They already know what the problem is. My job is to provide the solution. My job is to provide the plan. They not to reiterate the problem. Hey, let me show you all the homes that got extreme days on the market. They already know that. They see that. I'll touch on it. Like, hey, we're seeing the average day on the market is not one day. It's 15 to 25. Possibly by the time we get into this, it could be 30. Okay. But let me just tell you my plan and how we're going to accomplish your goal of selling your home.
If you were to just already identified a number of things on there, so if you were going to hand someone, so if you're going to a listing appointment, you're bringing somebody with you, a mentee with you, what is going to be identify like the 5 major things that your mentee is going to want to hammer down at that listing appointment?
Let me see how to answer that question. So the rules I have, there's 3 parts to my listing presentation. The first one is the tour. The second one is the numbers of going through the market analysis of going through the really it's not even the market, it's the seller net sheet. The seller net sheet's very, very important. And I break it down into 3 pricing and I have the whole thing mapped out for them. And then last and final piece is my marketing and how our plan is going to be. In this case, part of the seller net sheet, if I had to put seller net sheet like part A, I put in there a price improvement plan. You have to have a price improvement plan because sellers are still wanting to look at the high side. And that's when you ask the question, at what price point won't you go below? You got to build your price improvement plan around that. And you need to know how many buyers are actually looking in that area. You can do that through showing time, through the target analysis report. And you can look to say like, hey, there's only 3 buyers here. Like we could try this out, but normally I'm telling you it's 7 to 10 days, but we're probably going to be able to figure this out in like 3 days. So here's my next plan. You got to justify why you're doing. See, the biggest problem with agents right now is they're not justifying and educating their sellers why they have the price improvement plan. But most times when you go in there and I'm being interviewed, I say, did anybody else share this with you? And what do you think most people say?
No.
No, nobody's mentioned this. Because I know most agents, we know this, that most agents are taught I bring all about me, pump myself up, ego driven, and then they load up their folder with all the CMAs of other homes that they can go already looked at on Zillow, realtor.com. So most of the time they're saying, well, I already saw that. I already saw that. All right. So I focus on things that they already haven't been told or seen. And it's typically seller net sheets, price improvement plans, and using our showing time to be able to do our target analysis of buyers. Those are the main ingredients that I use. And I teach in part 2 of the presentation, and that's the seller net sheet with the numbers.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, I think this is good. I don't want to get into unpack too much information at one time because I think maybe we could talk about this again future podcasts because there is a lot of information to take in. And I just think that it's important, at least for me, on the listing appointments that I go to. I'm just like you said, I'm absolutely transparent. There's no sugarcoating anything. You're going to go to the doctor, and do you want the doctor to tell you what's wrong with you or maybe what you don't want to hear, right? You want to hear the truth because then now you know how to handle the problem because we need to be solutionists. We don't need to be problem creators. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Oh, 100%. They already know the problems. They already know what's going on. What we need to do is have answers to their problems and to people pay a lot of money to get answers to problems. Why do we go to the doctor to help us? Like, hey, I'm not feeling good. That's a problem. The doctor diagnoses you and gives you a solution of how you can get better, right? Same exact mentality, guys, of what we do. I want to say one thing. The difference in the beginning, okay, that a lot of real estate agents don't do is this. I call it the 5x5 plan, touches. Okay. The 5 touches in the beginning, I do a 3x3 when you're trying to make contact. When you already establish contact, I do 5 touches before I go to my first appointment. I have my initial call saying either they want me on an appointment or I set up the appointment. The next one is sharing the residential property report in my pre-listing packet. The next one is confirming that they received it. My next one is my pre-listing, my pre-qual with my listing. And then the last one is confirming our appointment. So I do 5 touches before I go to that appointment because to me, I'm separating myself before I get to the table. And I think that's a huge difference that a lot of agents don't do.
Yeah, let's talk about that on another. We're going to wrap this one up here in a bit, but I would really like to have one that just says, the 5 touches and what do they look like, because they're very important and it brings you great success. So in the minute or so that we have left on this one, with your mindset motivation, what do you want to tell people that are listening right now? How can they come into it and why is it important?
So like I told you about Monday, wasn't in a routine. I think routine is very important. Discipline is very important, especially self-discipline. So being around the right environment. So Monday through Friday, you're one of the leaders. Christian's a leader that we're on a mindset motivation. Sometimes it's about real estate. Sometimes it's about life. It's about challenges. But Monday through Friday, 8:15 to about 8:45-ish, you have 2 opportunities. You can go to Brock Zevan, mindset motivation call.com. That is on the Zoom link. You can also go to the Brock Zevan Mindset Motivational and Coaching Facebook page, and you can log in and listen to it live. All our videos are recorded, so you can go back and listen to it. So those are our 2 main ways, Zoom and Facebook. Zoom allows you to engage, ask us questions, get more involved. You could be on video. I think it enhances the relationship, and it's been truly a blessing in how many people we've have growing. Like I said this morning, our Facebook page started off with 2 or 3 people, and now we're close to 200 people. We just started a couple weeks ago, and so we got great leaders like you sharing your experiences and helping people across the board. So it's been really cool. We got people all across the country.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you, Brock, coming in. We know we're a little pressed for time, but we're going to bring you back next week. We'll set up another one for you, and you've got a lot going on. We appreciate you and best in all the new moves going on in your life. We want to thank everyone who's been part of our Raised on Real Estate here this morning, and we did one starting at 10:30 today, but we'll get it out to you later on. So for Greg Angello and for Brock Zevan, this is Raised on Real Estate. Take care of one another. Love one another. Be kind to one another. We'll talk to you all soon.